So again, I want to say thank you for joining us, for those of you in person, for those of you who joined online, and of course to our TDECU members, thank you for trusting us and helping you navigate your financial journey. Today we are observing Women's Equality Day, which is a huge deal for many of us. If you look at recent research, the women represented in the financial services industry continues to climb. And I recently was able to speak with our mortgage team and report out that single women home buyers have now outpaced single men home buyers in the country, which is that's really huge, and it says a lot about progress in terms of pay equity. It says a lot about progress in terms of hiring and advancement, and it really turns on its head a lot of stereotypes you hear about maybe women being risk averse or not being willing to take on big, hard things, and so we just love to see that sort of progress. So without belaboring the point, I am going to tell you why we're here today. We have a fantastic group of employee resource groups here, led by fearless leaders who volunteer their time to create safe spaces, to educate one another, and create progress in a very grassroots, organic way at TDECU. There are many, including the one hosting this morning. So we do have Allies for Love, we have I Am Culture, OneGen, VIA, the Voices of Interfaith Alliance. We have our veterans group, and we have recently brought on our neurodivergent group, which is a fantastic boon for the organization. Thank you. And today, this event is being hosted by HEARD, which stands for Hearing, Empowering, and Relating to the Dedicated Women of TDECU. And this dynamic group felt like we needed to come together today and hear from a titan of industry who really needs no introduction, but we'll receive one anyway in just a bit. And I'm going to let the two co-chairs of our HEARD group come up and talk to you a little bit about the histories of women's equality. We have Deanna Porter and Ashley Chavez. Put your hands together for them, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I really do appreciate it. Today, as we gather to celebrate Women's Equality Day, we reflect upon a history marked by determination, progress, and an unwavering commitment to justice and inclusion. Women's Equality Day, celebrated on August 26th, honors the hard-fought battle for women's suffrage and recognizes the strides we've made toward gender equality. It's a reminder of the remarkable strength, resilience, and contributions of women throughout history. At TDECU, our values and mission align closely with the spirit of Women's Equality Day. We recognize that diversity and inclusion are not only essential for social progress, but also integral to our own growth and success. Our commitment to empowering women is not just a token gesture. It's deeply ingrained principle that fuels our workplace culture. As we celebrate the history of Women's Equality Day, let us remember the trailblazing women who led the way and reflect on how far we've come. Let us recognize that our journey toward true gender equality is not yet complete and that it requires our continued dedication and commitment. Join us as we forge ahead and create a future where every woman's potential can shine brightly. Thank you.
All right, it is time for the main event. So, again, I say she needs no introduction, but I'm really excited to give it anyway because it's a little mind-blowing. So, today we have with us as our keynote speaker, Lisa Helfman. Lisa Helfman is the Senior Director of Public Affairs for H-E-B Houston Grocery Company and served previously as their Director of Real Estate. Prior to joining H-E-B in 2014, Lisa served as the Director of Real Estate for the Texas Children's Hospital. She actually created that real estate department there. Prior to that, she was an attorney at Vincent and Elkins Law Firm. We all know that the V&E alumni sort of run Houston, so glad to have you with us today for that. Also, Lisa received her JD magna cum laude from the University of Houston Law Center, go Cougs, and her BA cum laude from Tulane University. When she isn't representing HEB out in the community, she is pushing kale smoothies to children all over underserved communities nationwide as the founder and board chair of Brighter Bites. Brighter Bites has delivered over 60 million pounds of fresh produce and hundreds of thousands of educational materials to more than 500,000 individuals, including teachers, across 200 plus participating schools in Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, New York City, Washington, D.C., L.A., Bakersfield, Northern California, and Southwest Florida. In 2019, the Houston Galveston chapter of the Albert Schweitzer Fellowship named Lisa as its Humanitarian of the Year. Tulane University also named Lisa as its Community Service Alumni of the Year, and Business Insider named her to their list of the top 100 coolest people in food and drink. In 2020, her alma mater, Kincaid, everyone knows the Kincaid School, named Lisa Alumna of the Year. In addition to chairing the board of Brighter Bites, Lisa also serves on the boards of the Jung Center and the Houston Food Bank, the Kincaid School, and the Buffalo Bayou Partnership. She has 2 children, Drew, who's 18, and Nathan, who are 14, who continue to inspire her every day. Let's all give a warm TDECU welcome to Lisa Helfman.
Good morning. Thank you for hosting me on Women's Equality Day. How phenomenal that TDECU hosts an event around such an important topic. I'm proud to stand up here with such an impressive, powerful group of people today and share my story and a few things I've learned along the way. I am a Texan. I was born in Dallas and moved to Houston when I was 4 as my parents were divorcing. What most people don't know is I ended up running away from home at the age of 14. It was really bad in my house. And I moved back and forth from Dallas to Houston throughout my high school years. I returned to my previous school, Kincaid, as a senior, battling mono, pneumonia, and then anorexia. It really was such a tumultuous time in my life at home, but I still found ways to find joy through school and through friends. And I graduated with so many useful skills, they still help me today. I attended Tulane, as you heard, on an academic scholarship, and I loved it there. But I was pushed so hard to achieve that I had constant migraines and was on the brink of a nervous breakdown at 20 years old. My last year at Tulane, I was taking 21 credits a semester, working nonstop on political campaigns, and I had an active social life too. I mean, it was New Orleans, right? I had this mindset that if someone else could do it, I could too. And that created this life without limits. Unfortunately, that mindset landed me in the hospital with first of many stress-related doctor and therapist visits. I graduated in 3 years with all that going on, so I could just get on with life. I graduated from law school at the top of my class. I got married a month after I took the bar, and then a month after that, I went to work at V&E, as you heard. Well, I was a star associate with a precious newborn baby, Drew, and everyone saw me as the happiest of them all. I was actually living a very unhealthy and unhappy life. I was stressed out, I was burned out, and I was sick all the time. I started getting migraines again, and I even puked in the bathroom on a regular basis. Glad you're not eating right now. I suffered from IBS, speaking of, and my marriage just started falling apart. I was eating so much processed food to stay thin and drinking so much Diet Dr. Pepper that I convinced the people at V&E to put it in our break room soda fountain. Yes, the founder of a national nonprofit on nutrition, Brighter Bites, was a diet soda addict. I scheduled myself so tightly that I never had a free moment. Working while I was eating, responding to texts while I was getting dressed, and even my showers were efficient and effective. You know, when you put the conditioner, the soap, you know what I mean. I was multitasking everything, which meant I wasn't paying attention to anything. My crippling addiction to busyness kept me from leading a healthy and happy life. I've always been addicted to being busy. Lisa Helfman, I'm a busyness addict. Any other busyness addicts in the room, online? Yes, I see these hands going up. I know you. I see you. And I know addiction's a really strong word for that, but that's exactly what this busyness did to me. Addiction is continuing a behavior or a set of behaviors that, despite adverse consequences, which you just heard all of those, right? Addiction is chronic and it's progressive, and busyness truly is an addiction. Brené Brown says that when they start having 12-step meetings for busy-aholics, they'll need to rent out entire football stadiums. We are a culture of people who've bought into the idea that if we stay busy enough, the truth of our lives just won't catch up with us. And I would add that you're actually rewarded for this way of life every single day in our society. So we hardly treat it as unhealthy behavior, even though clearly it is. Well, at 34 years old, I got shingles. Who gets shingles at 34? Isn't that like an old person's disease? You get the vaccine over 50, 60, whatever it is. No one knew what I was going through. I numbed myself with this busyness because it just felt too hard to be myself, to deal with the things that just felt bad. And unlike numbing through alcohol or drugs or food or shopping, okay, maybe I shopped a little too, I was numbing through the constant filling of time, so not a moment went unwasted. Unlike drugs and alcohol, where people look down on you, a busyness addiction makes you revered. People are enamored with you for your success. And this recognition, it fosters this addiction further, right? You're doing it for affirmation, and you're getting it. Dr. Christina Hibbert says that a busyness addiction differs from a full life by how it impacts you. When life is full, you're healthy, you're happy most of the time, and discovering meaning and purpose in each and every day. When life is busy, you feel like you're just trying to keep up, yet you keep saying yes to one more thing. You're more likely to suffer from illness, chronic stress, or anxiety. And your sense of self-worth, this is a big one, your sense of self-worth may be tied up in your busyness. You know, my recovery didn't happen overnight, but at some point I knew that I wanted a life that was different. What I realized is that I needed to stop trying to be a human doing and focus on myself as a human being. I was too busy doing and not being. I focused on my achievements and not myself. I'm still in recovery today, and I continue to work on this addiction, and you may think that while you're hearing me talk today. But the journey I'm on now has given me the 3 tools that I use to get better. These 3 simple steps help me to conquer this addiction and achieve a full, the key word being full, but not a busy life that I absolutely love. So here they are. Taking care of yourself, number 1. Number 2, living with integrity. And number 3, knowing what brings me joy. So let's start with the first lesson learned, and that's all about self-care. It's a hot topic, right? Especially amongst women, so it's perfect for today. But for some reason, the puking, the IBS, the steroids, the therapy for my marriage, none of that scared me. After all, I thought if you're going to lead a big life, you're going to be stressed out. But those shingles did. That illness told me I needed to take better care of myself. And while I didn't really do it for myself at first, I decided to start nourishing myself in a healthier way. I joined a co-op where I picked up a box of fruits and vegetables every week, and I just began changing the way I was eating. As I started adding in more fresh food, it naturally crowded out the bad, and my physical health started changing. The illnesses decreased, and I started getting lots more energy. And I noticed I was more positive, too. It felt great. And in 2007, I became a lawyer at Texas Children's Hospital. And now I had two sons, both Drew and Nathan, who were 3 and 6 at the time. And I noticed that through the co-op, their eating habits started changing too. The first time it really hit me was when my older son, Drew, he called me over at a birthday party. And he said, "Mommy, do I have to eat this?" I looked down on his plate. And guess what it was? Birthday cake. I looked at him like he had 2 heads. I hadn't even reached that point in my food choices. I mean, I'm still liking cake. But over the next, and he was 6, by the way, this 18-year-old, he was 6. And over the next few months, I just couldn't get out of my head what Drew had done. He had developed healthier eating habits than most of the adults I knew. And in August 2011, sitting at a Texans game, I looked around what everyone was eating, and I got a little sick to my stomach. And I started wondering, if I could change my own family's eating habits, was it possible to change the way families, especially in those underserved neighborhoods, eat also? So I knew from working at the hospital that childhood obesity rates were sky high, and fresh produce consumption was quite low in these neighborhoods. You know, you're probably thinking, everyone talks about food deserts at an NFL game? No, but this was a really pivotal moment for me, and where we came up with this formula: produce distribution, nutrition education, and a fun food experience could create communities of health through fresh food. And that's the same formula that we have today at Brighter Bites. The program could look like this. We could find access to fresh produce, deliver it to schools in pallets, and community volunteers could bag the produce and distribute it to families at pickup time. We could teach the kids in the classroom all about healthy eating and provide handbooks to their parents with tip sheets and recipes. Now we have an app. But we could make it fun by having sample recipes for everyone to taste when they picked up the produce, just like you might find at your favorite grocery store, H-E-B. I started pitching this program to everyone I knew, and I got a lot of traction, and many of the experts around town offered to help. First, I got the heads of the KIPP schools. Next, Brian Green, the president of the Houston Food Bank. Then Dr. Srila Sharma, professor of epidemiology at UT School of Public Health, who later became my co-founder. And finally, Scott McClellan, that H-E-B guy with the glasses. All those meetings would end up changing my life. And in fact, after I met Brian at the food bank, I went into my car and I cried that someone like him liked my idea. And together, that dream team, we built Brighter Bites, our national nonprofit that is changing the way people view food. We started with one school in the east end of Houston with 150 families to, as you heard, over 500,000 people by delivering 60 million pounds of produce from coast to coast, hundreds of thousands nutrition and educational materials, and we have 10 cities, and we're launching next week our 11th city in Phoenix. Thank you. I'm excited too. And we know that we've made an impact because we study every family that we touch. And the same changes that happened to Drew and Nathan are happening in these homes across America. Anyways, Brighter Bites created another life-changing opportunity for me. That's kind of obvious at this point, I guess. But Scott McClellan, the president of HEB at the time, we spent so much time together that on April Fool's, he just asked me to come work for him. And I thought, are you kidding? It's April Fool's Day. Is this some kind of joke? And he said, no. I told him, I don't know anything about the grocery business. That's okay. He said, we'll teach you the business. You're really passionate about food. And today, I not only get to make an impact through Brighter Bites, but I also get to lead HEB's Public Affairs Department in Houston, touching literally millions of families through charitable giving and community activities every year. It's awesome. Excuse me. And I turned my passion into my profession. It's so awesome that I get paid to sprinkle the HEB fairy dust all over Houston to make the community a better place. Now, remember I talked about that busyness addiction, and I'm guessing you're thinking, wait, she sounds pretty busy. That addiction must be alive and kicking. Way to go, Lisa. But while my life is full, I'm just no longer intentionally busy. I care for myself in a way that I never have before. I prioritize self-care. It's not what I do anymore. It's really just who I am. I practice the basics. I eat healthy and in moderation. I traded that Diet Dr. Pepper and processed foods for lots of fruits and vegetables and a few treats, which fuels my body instead of depleting it. I run a couple miles instead of pushing myself to my limits with marathons, and I lift weights for 30-minute increments, not those crazy boot camps. I not only get 7+ hours of sleep, this ring tells me that, I take some of my waking hours to rest and relax and do very little sometimes. Sometimes that's meditation. Sometimes that's sitting on my couch reading. Sometimes it's listening to music and literally dancing around the room. Sometimes it's canceling my plans when I'm tired. And sometimes it's just doing nothing. And while every single one of those things matters, the best self-care tool I have is treating myself more kindly. Instead of belittling myself for everything I don't do, I'm not thin enough, I'm not the best mom, I'm not getting enough done, I now encourage myself, and I just don't take everything so seriously. My son said to me the other day, you know, these things I'm getting upset about, they're just things. And I was like, yeah? And he said, so if I don't make them things, they're not going to make me upset. And I was like, oh my God, 18 years old. I'm 40 plus and just got there, but go Drew. You know, it's okay if something has to wait until tomorrow. It's okay if I don't have to make Drew's lunch and he buys it at school that day. I do still make my 18-year-old's lunch. And he still loves it, so I'm doing as long as I can. It's also okay if my hair goes a little bit gray. In the scheme of life, the more important thing is that I have a healthy state of mind, so I'm not ruminating on the junk. And here's how I know that it's working. Most days, I wake up calm, and I stay that way all day. My staff at work, they've adopted this attitude too, and I see how much calmer they are. My kids, they're pretty calm too. And my husband, I just got married in March. Thank you. He was pretty intense when we met, but he's now taking most things in stride and just shies away from the drama. It's definitely an ongoing journey for all of us, but that's the thing. When they get worked up about something, they share their feelings with me, and I do with them, and we all reset pretty quickly. So, by just being myself, I've created a better world around me. One where others are their best selves too. Had I fit myself into that box that corporate America was telling me it was, I wouldn't see this joy around me. And that brings me to my second thing that keeps me going, keeps me healthy, is being myself, living with integrity. In 2019, I declared that my definition of integrity is that everyone in my life gets the same Lisa. You might be thinking that's an odd definition of integrity, given Webster's definition is the quality of being honest. However, honesty for me, it's authenticity. And authenticity only happens if you show up the same for everyone. That means my children, my friends, my family, my employees, and the people in the communities I serve with HEB and Brighter Bites. I show up as me for all these people. An ex-boyfriend said to me while we were dating years ago, I just want the same Lisa that everyone else gets. And I don't think I get her at the end of the day because you have nothing left. He was right. But that stuck with me. And over the years of what I call waking up, I started to understand what he meant. And I didn't want that to be happening in my most precious relationships. I believe that you need to do most things with intentionality to get the results that you want. I realized that my intentions had to be really clear here, that my kids and my loved ones, they're the most important people in my life. And that didn't mean I couldn't have a big career, but I had to give them 100% too. I achieved this by setting boundaries every day. Instead of going to every event, sometimes I take my son to shoot hoops instead or watch them play tennis. I prioritize their games, their plays, and activities on my calendar from the beginning, so I schedule around them rather than having to stress out when I'm moving things around. If I have to go to an evening event, I come home early to hang out with the boys for a few hours before it starts. I am unabashed with HEB and others that my kids come first, and I will be balancing my life to always include them in my day, no matter what work brings. On the flip side of setting boundaries, I also make time to use the tools I've learned that will put me in a better place, both physically and mentally. I did an adventure challenge on a vacation recently. I climbed up a 25-foot pole, and these people asked me to walk across this narrow plank. My heart started pounding as if a bear was chasing me. It felt like I could die. I mean, that sounds crazy, but I kind of have a fear of heights, and but instead of running through the activity in that crazy state, I naturally made another choice. I stood there and I just breathed for 4 minutes. It was on video, 4 minutes. My heart rate slowed down and just returned to normal, just by breathing. I walked across the plank and I made it. I retrained my brain so when the stress came, I responded better. Not perfect, but better. I now schedule my day so I'm not completely depleted when I get home and I have energy left for those dear to me who fill me up and bring me joy. That may seem small, but it's also one of the biggest things I do. The little things you do all day deplete you, and then that adds up. The extra phone call just to gossip, or an event about something meaningless. We don't need to create drama in our lives, do we? This means not taking every phone call or meeting just so I can have a little space to reset and then have energy for later. It's being conscious of how everything affects me in advance, so then I get to live the life that I want. And that brings me to my third lesson. And that is, if I can be true, Lisa, to know what brings me joy and just to do a ton of that. I used to go through my days in a routine of what I had to do. I had to go work out. I had to work. I had to tend to the kids. I had to straighten my hair. I even had to go get my nails done because, God forbid, my nails didn't look good. The concept of choice wasn't even part of my mindset. But after many years of exploration, I now realize I have a choice in how I spend my time. And I consciously choose what brings me joy. I prioritize that. And the first time this concept crossed my mind was shortly after I started Brighter Bites in 2012. I could feel the passion swell in me every time I walked into a school. And I handed that child a piece of fruit. Or I pitched the idea to a state legislator, or I got another partner on board. I distinctly remember the time that a child chased me around the room, begging me for another cup of kale smoothie. That felt amazing, to live a purpose-driven life. That happened over 10 years ago, and I'm still talking about it today with you. It was if I was coming alive in a whole new way. I always assumed the most joy would come at the big milestones and the big events, but they were actually much more simple. One of the most memorable moments was sitting on the couch watching a TV show with Drew, and he leaned over and he put his head on my shoulder. Or just sharing a meal without electronics. I found that the more that I made myself available, the more my children responded. The more everyone around me responded, not just my kids. And this connection, it brought me so much joy and calm that I wanted nothing more than more of those moments. So over the years, I started to pay attention to what brought me joy. And in 2017, I realized I wasn't in the right position at HEB. I discussed opportunities with the other heads of HEB, and because they knew I was passionate about helping the community, they asked me to run public affairs for Houston. So here I am today, representing the greatest company, not credit union, but company in Texas. And I get to make our community a better place. I get paid to do that, which is really the most joy that I've ever felt professionally. Now at HEB, I'm also launching a new campaign in our stores called One Good Thing to create connection and joy amongst our partners, what we call our employees, so they know that one little act of kindness can change their whole day. I saw an opportunity to combat some of the strife, the isolation, and challenges around us, and I went for it. I showed up with joy to this company that I love, and I asked if I could spread it. And you know what? They said, go for it. Now that I get to know how good joy feels, as you're hearing, I recognize it and go after it. But I don't go after it in that crazy old Lisa intense way. That wouldn't be good. But I do it in a calm, relaxed, new Lisa way. I create space for it. I don't overschedule. And then these sweet moments, like being here with you today, they present themselves. I leave space in my calendar to get together with people that fill my bucket or those who I can fill theirs. Many of my days are like that now. I've come to realize that one more accomplishment, it's not going to change my self-worth or bring me more joy. I have now stopped trying to be that human doing. and I just live as a human being. When you take the 3 simple steps, take care of yourself, live with integrity, and focus on what brings you joy, these things really do just have a way of working themselves out. And then you can have a life that you love, that is absolutely still full, but not busy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. That was just phenomenal. Can we put our hands together one more time? Just, you know how sometimes, I don't know if you're a churchgoer, the preacher will start talking and you start looking around like, are they talking to me? Do you have a camera at my house? Okay. We are going to transition into the Q&A. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions in advance of today. We'll go over your questions. If anyone attending online has questions for Lisa, also please submit those through the Q&A online, and we will get those asked for you. I do want to remind everyone, because I would be remiss if I did not, based on what Lisa was talking about today, we have a world-class, phenomenal wellness team here at TDECU. If you are not taking advantage of their offerings, please do. If you haven't met our resident meditation expert, Ashanti, please reach out to her. She has changed my day on more than one occasion. Please use your EAP benefits. They're here so that you can obtain that type of life. All right, so let's move over into Q&A.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
How can you truly achieve work-life balance? For most, at least 5 days of our work are centered around work. Our week are centered around work. How have you prioritized your personal life and set boundaries?
Yeah, so I think it's all about setting intentions about what's important to you and knowing that up front. And just having the mindset allows you to make shifts in your day. Further to what I was saying in the speech, when HEB hired me, I actually was going through the divorce at the time. The office was kind of far away from my house, and I was working in the med center at the time that was right down the street. And I just said, I want to be with my kids. They're young, this is the time. And they structured an entire job around that. And they said, we never want you to miss one of their games. We won't ask you to do that. So sometimes, obviously, calls and things come up at a 4 o'clock tennis match at their school. I will still take that, but I won't miss the match unless it's just super hypercritical that I do. And so the balls will be swishing in the background and people will be talking. But I will tell them, I'm at Drew's tennis match. Like, he's the team leader and I want to support him. And I know how much that means to my kids. I also know that means at 6 o'clock I might have to go put this dress back on and go out for HEB because this is what I signed up to do. Or I might go volunteer on the weekend and bring my kids with me, right? Because that's one of the best things we can do is set an example. And so my family is wonderfully supportive of the things that I do, and they will come around town and do these volunteer things. Sometimes if they're off school, I'll take them to a luncheon, or a gala might have Drew Brees as the speaker, and they're my guests instead of my colleagues that night. So but because it's on my mind that I want to be with them and I want to prioritize, and I'll be honest, like this time last fall, my son had a very severe mental health episode. He had a panic attack that snowballed into him thinking he was dying. And for 60 days, I needed to hunker down and take care of Drew. He seemed like the happiest-go-lucky kid. And then all of a sudden this happened, junior year of high school. I'm not getting into college was the mindset, even though he's definitely going to get into somewhere fabulous. And the company I was very upfront. The company was great. He stopped driving, so I took him to all his appointments, and everything was fine. My team picked up the pace. They did what needed to be done. They took the meetings, and Drew is the happiest, healthiest kid with obviously this great self-awareness that I mentioned in the speech, and we're all doing great. So I think having the priorities set in your head up front, that you're not backtracking to make it happen, that's how I do it.
I love that, Lisa. And something you just said there at the end about your team picking up the pace just spoke to me about leadership and being willing to let other people really carry what they have the capacity to do, right? And not feeling like you have to do everything. So that's phenomenal. Thank you for sharing that. This next question is right on time. I did not hear your speech before today. And this question came in before your speech, but it literally says, how do you stay committed to your personal integrity without compromising it while working in corporate America? And I should say integrity is one of our core values here at TDCU, so we're all really looking forward to this answer.
You know, I think that we're all people at the end of the day, right? To think that there's one, like I said, I want to be the same Lisa for everyone, and to think that there's one person that shows up to work and one person that shows up to home, that's just a misguided philosophy of life at this point. And that also means that I want to make our work environment great, like I'm working on this Joy campaign. I want to make it great so then people translate a happier life back to home too, right? So I think that because of the fact that I am so authentic, and I might have said that S-H-I-T word, I mean, like, I am who I am, and I lean into that so strongly that I think that matters. You know, a lot of young people ask me, like, how'd you build a nonprofit? How'd you get this career? How'd you switch from being a lawyer to public affairs? And there's one simple answer, and it's follow your passion. Because when you're passionate about something, it doesn't feel like work, number one. Doesn't mean you don't turn it off, but you're better at it. You're just naturally better. I say that you can't force people to do something. You can't push things on people. You want them to pull it through. How do you do that? You do that by being the best person you know how to be, and then you just hope that people feel that around them, that they feel taken care of, that they feel loved, appreciated, supported. And that's how I do that. You know, I thought when I was a kid going to school like Kincaid, and my kids are there now too, so I'm very supportive of school, but that you had to be successful, you had to make a lot of money, you had to get married, all these things had to happen for you to be happy. That's it. That's what they teach you. Like, you're always hitting the next milestone, right? The next report card, the next team win, the next school entrance, whatever it is, you're trying to be like the best of the best, but none of that is what brought me joy. It was slowing down to see the moments of being together and why human connection is what brings us joy. And so if you're racing through life like we think corporate America teaches us, you miss that. But at the same time, I don't think you value people in the same way to help support them, lift them up, and create this world around you. You know, as leaders, people take on a lot of pressure that everything is on their shoulders and they have to do all these things. But if you lift everybody else up, or you spread joy to them, or compassion or kindness, they lift up with you. And as leaders, you end up living a better life. You're authentically living a better life that you want to live. Like attracts like, I like to say.
I love that. So who you are, safe to say, who you are anywhere is who you are everywhere. And that's how you live your life.
Yes.
I love that. Do we have another question?
Yes, we have time for one more, being
Okay.
respectful of your time. How do you or HEB support women on their journey through aging? Women's health in regards to aging, especially perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause, are trending topics and salient as we look at the demographics of the American workforce. Is there anything in particular that you can share about how to navigate this critical time while striking a good balance, or how to support other women who are dealing with it, family life, and work?
Ooh, there's a question.
Okay, let's go out with a bang, people. I am that age group. I'm turning 48 next month, and I'm wondering how my body's changing all the time. And so I think about these things a lot. And I'm grateful to work for a company at HEB that prioritizes health benefits, number one. So one of the things they did is that you can have unlimited visits to any mental health provider for $15. Wow. That is huge, right? You don't see a lot of companies doing that. So like, literally, that was over $3,000 benefit to me personally last year because I lean on that. And then number two, just our benefits package is great. So you don't have to, you can have your well women exam and you can do all the things you need to do and not worry about the financial side of that, which matters, obviously, sitting here with you. The other thing is we have started understanding as a company that food is medicine and wellness matters in whether it's the aging process or any other part of your life. And we have opened up clinics around the state. We have 4 here in Houston, and we're opening more. And they're not only a doctor that will see you, not for 5 minutes, but for an extended period of time to know everything that's going on with you, not just the problem of the day, but trying to understand how all your history works together. And we have dietitians on staff that talk to these doctors. We have physical therapists. So when I had an issue from running, I went to her. She fixed me up. It was amazing. So we're trying to give those resources that are easily accessible and people know how. For our employees at HEB, what we call partners, all of those services are 100% free. You still have regular insurance to go to a doctor outside of that, but everything in HEB is free. And then everybody else on the outside can subscribe for, it's like $100 a month or something and get all those services. So we are constantly just trying to meet people where they're at with what they need. And you probably could tell from my speech, I think prevention is really the key, right? If I'm feeding my body great food, which we have an abundance of at HEB, then I'm less likely to have to deal with more problems. It doesn't mean menopause isn't hitting, it's gonna hit and all these things, but my body's gonna react better. So I think it's really trying to lead the way to show people how to deal with these issues. And then so you're healthier, we're avoiding type 2 diabetes or whatever the thing that could bring you down, we can look at those things up front. And then if they do hit, we're here to help you in a very collaborative, connective way. And then on top of all that, we have a women's PRG that a lot of us are a member of. And so we have this great network to talk to people at the company and be like, oh my gosh, I'm going through this. What are you going through? And it's such a fun group that we're pretty open with each other, and you can tell I obviously am. So that helps a lot too. Because I think when you're going through these things, your body's changing, it can affect here, everywhere, and it's good to have friends to talk to. And so there's such lovely people at HEB. It's really remarkable to me. Even I'm hitting 9 years at HEB in October, and I still feel the same way as when I was secret shopping during my interview process. It's the same, everybody's saying the same thing, we really take care of our people. And at the end of the day, that's what I think is so important about all of this, is that we're people. Mm-hmm. We're just people that want to be taken care of, that want to live good lives, and how do we just help each other do it to the best of our ability? And I'm fortunate to work for a company that prioritizes that.
I love that. Thank you so much, Lisa. I work for a company that prioritizes that also.
I'm in good company, right?
We want to honor your time, and we have one more special surprise for you. So we're going to move into that portion. I love that you touched on the benefit of joining a resource group at your organization. So join HERD Women's Resource Group here. If you're a member, if you're an employee at TDECU, there's sign-ups there in the back. We have a special guest, well, not really a guest. We have a very special TDECU teammate who wants to come up and surprise you. So I'm going to give you my mic. If you can come on up. You probably know Crystal. Everyone knows Crystal. Crystal's our Lisa. She's always in the community, I'm sorry?
I'm getting nervous.
I'm gonna see you. So, yes. I wore my HEB red today, and TDECU red. So, Lisa, thank you so much. I think if I look up Renaissance woman in the dictionary, it may have your picture. So thank you so much for being here with us. And like Jay said, I have the honor and am so blessed to be able to work with everyone, work with our communities on a daily basis to spread that TDECU joy, right, throughout our communities. And number one, HEB, thank you. Thank your team. Vicki Luna, part of your team. Thank you so much for what you do every single day. There is not a community event, anything I go to in the community or see in the community that does not have the HEB logo. And what you all do to really help our youth, help all communities, help all people, it's so inspiring. And I thank you. And Brighter Bites. All summer long, through my child's school district, I heard about Brighter Bites. You guys are everywhere.
Amazing.
Yes, and I loved it. And Brighter Bites is just very, very inspirational as well. And you helping to found that organization, when you were talking, my children are going to go home and eat some carrots tonight, by the way. I have a 4-year-old and I have an 8-year-old, and it really does start at those young ages of changing those habits. So. Thank you so much. And at TDECU, one of our pillars of giving is to ensure our communities continue to thrive by providing basic needs. And so we want, in your name, in your honor, we want to give a $1,500 donation to Brighter Bites. And just to say thank you so much and to continue to help Brighter Bites do the great work that they do.
Oh my God, they're gonna love that. Yeah. Thank you, thank you. Oh my God, this is amazing. Yes, I need a picture of this check so I can.
How do we want it?
Should we come up? Yes. Okay. Oh my God, you're the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me get over here.
Okay, we're gonna jump in for one.
Come on. This is awesome. Thank you so much. This is a total surprise.
Thank you again,
so
Lisa, for your
much.
time.
Oh my
Thank
God.
you for everyone who came out this morning, this afternoon now. And thank you for everyone who joined us online. If you have other questions for Lisa that we were not able to get through, we apologize, but we'll see if we can float them over to her and see if we can get some of her expert feedback on those. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.